Bernie Mac, Thuy Trang, Sage Stallone, these actors and more were sadly all taken from us too soon. Keep watching to find out which actors you may not have realized had died. One of the original kings of comedy next to Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hughley, and Steve Harvey, Bernie Mac built his hugely successful career through a stand-up routine heavily influenced by Richard Pryor. That in and of itself isn't unusual, but Mac used that cornerstone to build a presence and style that was uniquely his own.
I never watch what somebody else does. It does not matter. Bernie Mac got to do his thing.
That hard work paid off in Hollywood with a series of high-profile roles. Many might recognize Mac as Ice Cube's neighbor, Pastor Clever in the movie Friday. He'd go on to star in Charlie's Angels, Full Throttle, Ocean's 11, Transformers, and more, and also headlined a sitcom loosely based on his own experiences called The Bernie Mac Show. During the last years of his life, Mac suffered from sarcoidosis, which heavily affected his lungs, and he succumbed to pneumonia complications on August 9, 2008 at the age of 50. Harold Ramis was 69 when he passed away from an autoimmune disease in 2014, which in and of itself might have come as a surprise to many of the film fans who watched him in 80s classics like Stripes, National Lampoon's Vacation, and Ghostbusters. A talented director and screenwriter, as well as a frequent fixture in some of the biggest comedy hits of the decade, Ramis's behind-the-scenes talents helped bring us Groundhog Day and Caddyshack, among many others. In fact, he jumped back and forth between either side of the cameras throughout his career, co-writing both of the Ghostbusters movies as well as Stripes. Although few fans knew he was ill, Ramis struggled with the side effects of his infection for years. He had to learn how to walk all over again after contracting autoimmune inflammatory vasculitis in 2010 and suffered a relapse the following year. His final on-screen appearance came in the 2009 comedy Year One. A veteran of stage and screen who amassed a distinguished career spanning decades, Richard Harris notched arguably his highest profile role late in his career, courtesy of the blockbuster Harry Potter film franchise. In two of his final screen appearances, Harris played Potter's beloved headmaster Albus Dumbledore in the first two installments of the blockbuster film franchise The Sorcerer's Stone and The Chamber of Secrets. Although he'll always be Dumbledore to generations of Potter-loving fans, outside of Hogwarts, Harris compiled multiple careers worth of impressive credits and honors. He was an accomplished singer, actor, director, writer, producer, and songwriter who won Grammy and Golden Globe Awards for his work on 15 different albums and more than 70 films, including Camelot, The Guns of Navarone, Gulliver's Travels, Patriot Games, Unforgiven, Gladiator, and The Count of Monte Cristo. After being diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease, Harris died on October 25, 2002 at the age of 72. Best known for playing the young Carol Ann from the movie Poltergeist, Heather O'Rourke skyrocketed to instant fame as the sweet young girl that terrified audiences after being sucked into the television set. In fact, she may have played the part a little too well. Although O'Rourke racked up an impressive list of credits after her breakthrough performance as Carol Ann, she remained tied to the franchise in the public's mind, and she was one of a very small number of original cast members that remained with the movie series until its conclusion with 1988's Poltergeist 3. If you've seen the final movie, you may notice that Heather's cheeks appear very puffy, and although audiences didn't know it at the time, it was a reaction to the medication she was taking for Crohn's disease, with which she was misdiagnosed. Tragedy struck on February 1, 1988, when Heather suffered from cardiac arrest while undergoing a surgery for a bowel obstruction at the tender age of 12. Thuy Trang was best known for her work as the original Yellow Ranger on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but unlike a lot of actors who start out in genre TV, she seemed in no danger of being typecast. In fact, she was developing what seemed like a potentially promising career after leaving the show. Trang jumped right into feature work, landing roles in a pair of movies released in 1996, the dark drama The Crow, City of Angels, and the Leslie Nielsen comedy Spy Hard. Clearly, Trang had enough chops to tackle work from a variety of genres, but sadly, she never had a chance to fulfill that potential. She was killed in a car accident at the age of 27 in 2001, after the driver lost control of the vehicle and it plunged over a guardrail on California's Interstate 5. Emergency medical personnel tried getting Trang to the hospital, but she died in transit, the result of massive internal injuries. One of Hollywood's all-time ultimate that guy actors, Taylor Negron, compiled a truly compressive list of classic screen credits without ever becoming a household name. Although he tended to be on screen for no more than a few moments at a time, Negron's deadpan delivery made him a fan favorite among film aficionados of the 80s, and a standout in pictures like Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Better Off Dead. Later in his career, Negron made memorable appearances on hit TV shows like Seinfeld and Friends, but as much fun as he could be on screen, he was even more interesting behind the scenes. In addition to acting, Negron was an acclaimed writer whose work included published collections of short stories, as well as a trained painter whose work was shown in multiple galleries. He was only 57 when he died in early 2015 after a battle with liver cancer. After making a name for himself as a professional wrestler, Rowdy Roddy Piper branched out onto the big screen, most notably through his starring role in the 1988 cult classic They Live. Leading that cult John Carpenter classic, Piper waged war against a covert alien invasion and coined an unforgettable catchphrase.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Piper's bone-crunching work in that film helped set the tone for a busy Hollywood career full of B-movie roles and small but unforgettable appearances on television shows like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. On the screen as well as in the ring, Piper gave every performance his all, frequently elevating otherwise forgettable material and consistently serving as the most memorable component of whatever project he was appearing in. He died in his sleep in 2015 after suffering a pulmonary embolism that triggered a heart attack. Critically maligned and pretty much ignored at the box office, Rocky V is indisputably the least loved film of Sylvester Stallone's long-running boxing franchise. Take a careful look under its cheesier elements, however, and you can see the outline of a truly affecting story about a former heavyweight champ going broke, losing his ability to box, and nearly losing his relationship with his son. To help tell the story, Stallone brought in his own 14-year-old son, Sage, to play the part of Robert Rocky Jr. Balboa in the film, and young Stallone's time on the set clearly made a positive impression. After college, Sage continued working in the industry in small, low-key projects, carving out a career in his own right apart from his blockbuster leading father. Unfortunately, Sage died on July 13, 2012, at the young age of 36 due to a heart attack brought on by coronary artery disease. Long before he founded an ill-fated amusement park using the secrets of dino DNA, Richard Attenborough was already an accomplished and award-winning actor. Attenborough starred alongside Steve McQueen in The Great Escape, released in the midst of a busy period that included some of his most widely seen work. He also won 2 consecutive Golden Globe Awards in 1967 and 1968 for co-starring in The Sand Pebbles and Dr. Dolittle. Needless to say, Attenborough's career contains no shortage of highlights, and his work will no doubt be familiar to classic film fans. Younger filmgoers, however, have their own Attenborough memories thanks to his appearance as John Hammond, whose ambitions led to the creation of Jurassic Park. That blockbuster made him famous to a whole new generation, but it's just one short chapter in a life of many great cinematic achievements that ended on August 24, 2014 at the age of 90.
What you talking about, Willis?
Kids of the 70s and 80s, and honestly anyone who enjoys the classic sitcoms of the era, will immediately recognize the immortal catchphrase Gary Coleman coined as an adorable kid on the long-running hit sitcom Different Strokes. Coleman's diminutive stature helped him continue to play younger characters throughout much of his career, and at the peak of his fame, he landed a series of film and television roles. Unfortunately, his youthful looks and peak height of 4 feet 8 inches were side effects of an autoimmune kidney disease combined with the medications he took throughout his life to fight the condition. Work in Hollywood became harder to come by after strokes left the airwaves, and behind the scenes he underwent frequent dialysis treatments and was forced to undergo 2 kidney transplants. After a fall at his home, Coleman died on May 28, 2010 of an epidural hematoma at the age of 42. Exactly where you remember esteemed actor Edward Herrmann from depends on whether you favor musicals, vampire movies, medical TV shows, or fast-talking mother-daughter family dramas. Herrmann is probably best recognized today for his role as pompous but warm-hearted patriarch Richard Gilmore in the series Gilmore Girls. Richard's dry sense of humor and quiet authority contrasted with the quick wit and constant banter that flew between his daughter Lorelai and his granddaughter Rory and his wife Emily, who was played by Kelly Bishop. Off-screen, Herrmann and Bishop, both classically trained and meticulous about their craft, were especially close. Herrmann's wife Starr, whom he married in 1994, would joke that Bishop was his other wife. In Herrmann's final moments, his family invited Bishop to say goodbye with them. Before his longest-running role in Gilmore Girls, Herrmann worked regularly on TV and in movies. He was nominated for an Emmy for playing a priest in the medical drama St. Elsewhere and won one for the legal series The Practice. He played Franklin D. Roosevelt in the 1982 adaptation of Annie, having previously played the president for a miniseries and TV movie in the late 70s. And in 1987, he played a stepfather from literal hell in the vampire movie The Lost Boys. Herrmann died of brain cancer at age 71 on December 31st, 2014. In the Netflix revival of Gilmore Girls, it was revealed that Richard had also died, sparking big changes for Emily in particular. Deezer D was one of the foundational actors on hit medical drama ER. Born Deerin Thompson, he played nurse Malik McGrath on the show's entire 15-year run, appearing in 188 episodes. As often happens in real hospitals as well as fictional ones, ER typically focused on its physicians and surgeons, not the nurses. But Thompson was one of just a handful of actors who appeared in every season, and his episode count makes him the 5th most prolific member of the large cast. Outside of ER, Thompson had a few small parts in movies, including the cult classic comedy Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion, and appeared in Vanilla Ice's video for Cool as Ice. He played one of the members of a fictional rap group in the mockumentary movie CB4 in 1993 and also rapped for real. He released multiple records, including the full-length album Delayed But Not Denied in 2008, and continued making songs until his death. His final track, History Can't Be Stopped, was released posthumously. Thompson started having heart issues around 2008, telling Radar Online the following year that he had been suffering from recurrent pneumonia and heart failure. It was discovered that he had a leaking valve and expanded aorta, which was addressed with surgery in 2009. According to Deadline, he went on to have more operations on his heart over the next 10 years or so. Thompson died on January 7, 2021, at the age of 55 of a suspected heart attack. Kathryn Joosten was in her 50s when she started working consistently in notoriously youth-centric Hollywood in the mid-1990s. She'd start acting in 1980 after realizing she was missing out on following her dreams. Despite her late start, Joosten built a career playing one-off but always memorable characters in hit TV series. Her credits include ER, Third Rock from the Sun, Seinfeld, Roseanne, The Nanny, Frasier, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and The X-Files, to name just a few. Later, she would add the likes of Will and Grace and Grey's Anatomy to that list. In short, name a hit show of the 90s and 2000s, and Joosten probably appeared in it. Her most memorable guest appearance was as a woman who refused treatment for kidney failure in season 1 of Scrubs. The episode My Old Lady consistently ranks as a fan favorite, thanks in no small part to Joosten's performance.
Unfortunately, we don't really have a choice.
Well, actually, I do have a choice.
Certain things you never expect to come out of a person's mouth.
I think I'm ready to die.
In addition to those guest roles, Joosten landed regular parts in 2 major series. She played the steely secretary to Martin Sheen's President Bartlett in 2 seasons of The West Wing, combining her talents for fast-paced drama and comedy, and nosy but occasionally helpful neighbor Karen McCluskey in Desperate Housewives. Joosten was first treated for lung cancer in 2001, the year My Old Lady aired. She was undergoing treatment while making the final season of Desperate Housewives, which was written into her character's arc. McCluskey died in the season finale. Joosten died 2 weeks after that episode aired, on June 2, 2012, at the age of 72. Hugh Dane's resume reads like a list of the top sitcoms of the 90s and early 2000s. He played 2 different characters in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, appeared in an episode of Martin, and multiple episodes of Rock. He had small parts in Friends, Sister Sister, Everybody Hates Chris, and New Girl. On the drama side, he played a judge in an episode of The West Wing. He also appeared briefly in the comedy movies Little Fockers and Bridesmaids. However, Dane will most likely be remembered and missed for his role as Hank, the permanently unimpressed security guard in The Office. He appeared in 22 episodes of NBC's hit mockumentary about the inner workings and ridiculous shenanigans in a Scranton, Pennsylvania paper company. Dane died at the age of 75 on May 16, 2018. After his death, his The Office co-star Rainn Wilson described him as one of the greats, so kind, funny, and talented. On January 1, 2021, NBC's streaming platform Peacock tweeted a video of a cold open that never aired dedicated to Dane. It showed one of Jim's most elaborate pranks on Nemesis Dwight, featuring Dane as Morpheus from The Matrix.
If the blue pill's not safe to swallow, someone should tell us now.
Kenny Baker originated one of the most beloved characters in one of the most popular movie franchises of all time, but you wouldn't recognize him from that role out of costume. Baker is most famous for playing R2-D2, the brave and mischievous Star Wars droid. He was born with dwarfism, but it wasn't just Baker's height that made him perfect for the role. According to his New York Times obituary, he was the only person small enough to fit into the costume who was also strong enough to move it. It helped that Baker had been in entertainment for years. He sang, danced, played instruments, clowned, and ice skated in various touring companies. As he told The Guardian, "There are certain close-up movements only I can do convincingly. It's all about giving R2 a personality, and CGI can never really do that." In addition to R2, Baker played an Ewok in Return of the Jedi, alongside his wife and fellow actor Eileen. But the furry, violent inhabitants of the jungle planet Endor were less fun to play than to watch, thanks to the stuffy costumes. It wasn't just that they were hot. The heads were impossible to see out of when they steamed up. The last time Baker played R2 was for Revenge of the Sith, although he served as a consultant on The Force Awakens. He also appeared in many other movies and series, including Flash Gordon, Time Bandits, and Amadeus. He died at the age of 81 on August 13th, 2016. If you're a millennial who grew up wishing you could have an identical twin to swap lives with, you probably remember Natasha Richardson best for her role as the extremely cool fashion designer mom in the Lindsay Lohan-led remake of The Parent Trap. That was Richardson's most prominent screen role, but she had a prestigious stage career. It started with a touring version of The Seagull, which ended in London's West End, with Richardson appearing opposite her mother, renowned British actor Vanessa Redgrave. TV fans may know Vanessa best for her role as Dr. Erica Naughton in Nip Tuck, opposite her older daughter and Natasha's sister, Jolie Richardson. Jolie should also be known to fans from the Parent Trap era as Anita in the 1996 live-action adaptation of 101 Dalmatians. As you've probably noted, Natasha was part of an acting dynasty. Her grandfather, Sir Michael Redgrave, Vanessa's father, was famous for tragedies. Natasha's aunt, Lynn Redgrave, Vanessa's sister, was an Oscar-nominated theater superstar. To round out the family, Lynn and Vanessa's brother, Corin Redgrave, was a stage actor and playwright. Natasha met actor Liam Neeson when they starred opposite each other in a Broadway production of Anna Christie. She was nominated for a Tony for the role, and the two later married and had 2 sons together. Natasha died suddenly of head injuries sustained during a skiing trip on March 18, 2009. She was 45. In a show that made superstars out of its 6 main cast members, James Michael Tyler managed to hold his own as one of the most memorable side characters. He played coffee shop manager Gunther in Friends for all 10 seasons, appearing in 150 episodes total, although he didn't have a line for his first 33 appearances. Tyler originally landed the role because he knew how to work the fancy espresso machine on the Central Perk set. Not one to take himself overly seriously, after Friends he played himself in the satire episodes, which saw that version of Tyler experiencing a slightly awkward reunion with Matt LeBlanc, who played Joey on Friends, also playing himself. Tyler loved the experience of being in Friends, although there was one drawback. As he told Digital Spy, he was cast with very distinctive bleached blonde hair, which added to his character's mystique. But it was originally the result of an experiment he let one of his friends perform, which turned into weekly bleach jobs for 10 years. Tyler was diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2018, which he didn't make public until June of 2021. That month, he announced in an interview with NBC that the cancer had reached stage 4, meaning it had spread to other parts of his body. He died just a few months later on October 24, 2021. A veteran stage, film, and television actor, Richard Griffiths is known by the masses for his portrayal of Harry Potter's uncle, Vernon Dursley. While Dursley was, for the most part, always cruel to the young wizard, he was still a part of Harry's family, and he ultimately helped prove that the boy who lived had a golden heart because he still cared for the uncle who treated him poorly. Outside of the Harry Potter series, Griffiths won a slew of awards over the course of a busy career, earning particular acclaim for his portrayal of English teacher Douglas Hector in a play called The History Boys. He also starred in a variety of projects, including Superman 2, Gandhi, Sleepy Hollow, King Ralph, Hugo, Pirates of the Caribbean, On Stranger Tides, and The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Griffiths passed away at 65 on March 28, 2013 due to complications shortly after having heart surgery. Brad Renfro skyrocketed to fame at age 11 through his acclaimed work in Joel Schumacher's adaptation of author John Grisham's book The Client. High-profile roles quickly followed, and Renfro made appearances in Sleepers opposite Brad Pitt, The Informers starring Kim Basinger, and Ghost World alongside Scarlett Johansson. Yet, as his star continued to rise on screen, Renfro faced a darker path behind the scenes, one that would ultimately see him fulfilling the sad destiny of many child actors, plunging into a life of illegal drug use and trouble with the law. After attempting to buy drugs from an undercover LA police officer, Renfro pleaded no contest to attempted possession of heroin and spent 10 days in jail. On January 15, 2008, at 25 years old, Renfro's turbulent story reached a tragic end when he was found dead of an accidental heroin and morphine overdose in his apartment in Los Angeles. Dana Plato played Kimberly Drummond in the long-running hit television series Different Strokes. Cast alongside fellow child stars Gary Coleman and Todd Bridges, she was catapulted to instant stardom. To cope with the mounting pressures of fame, Plato often indulged in cocaine and marijuana off the set, yet it wasn't until she became pregnant that the network released her from her contract, helping her trigger a downward spiral of drugs and alcohol that included work in adult films and a spread in Playboy magazine. She later moved to Las Vegas, where desperate for cash, she robbed a store for less than $200 and was bonded out of jail by Vegas entertainer Wayne Newton. She died at the age of 34 on May 8, 1999, in her RV in Oklahoma after taking a fatal dose of Lortab and Valium. Best known for her work starring as Mel Gibson's daughter in the blockbuster The Patriot, Skye McCole Bartusiak was a child actress with a promising future. She made her film debut in The Cider House Rules in 1999 and starred with Michael Douglas and Brittany Murphy in Don't Say a Word in 2001. She also appeared in the film Kill Your Darlings with True Blood star Alexander Skarsgård in 2006. Unfortunately, Bartusiak's life behind the scenes wasn't as glamorous as fans might have assumed and included some dangerous drug habits that would end up contributing to her having an accidental overdose in 2014. According to Bartusiak's mother, the young star had also been suffering from epileptic seizures prior to her passing, which led to the family initially believing she choked to death before the coroner's ruling made the tragic truth clear. Before getting his big break, Michael K. Williams was consistently cast as one-dimensional criminals. He was a young black man in a white industry that didn't know how to tell diverse stories about people who looked like him. Also, he had a distinctive facial scar from the time someone attacked him with a razor, something else Hollywood didn't know what to do with. Williams' big break came courtesy of The Wire character Omar Little, an armed robber who targets drug dealers and the most feared man in a territory ruled by violence. But Little wasn't a carbon copy of those previous characters. For one thing, he was openly gay in a homophobic society that mocked gay men as weak. For another, he was known to give some of his ill-gotten gains to people in his much-in-need community. After playing Omar, Williams landed roles in several prestigious series, including crime drama The Night of When We Rise, about the gay civil rights movement, and a recurring part as a racketeer in prohibition drama Boardwalk Empire. He even got to show off his comedy skills in Community. In 2019, he appeared in Ava DuVernay's When They See Us, as the father of one of the wrongfully accused Central Park Five. In 2020, he was nominated for his 5th Emmy for the HBO series Lovecraft Country. Williams died at the age of 54 on September 6, 2021, of what was later confirmed as a drug overdose. If you or anyone you know is struggling with addiction issues, help is available. Visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP.